I'm Barry Weir.
The Jazz FM Money Minute with Mishcon Derea.
Well, the UK's trade deficit was less than expected last month thanks to strong exports of cars to the US, China and Russia. The country's labour market may be turning the corner, with more firms looking to hire staff than let people go. That's according to a survey of more than 2,000 companies by recruitment firm Manpower, which said its research indicated businesses were encouraged by signs of economic growth. Well, the UK property market is seeing a modest pickup in activity. The Department for Communities and Local Government says house prices are up 0.7% in January. An annual survey of hotel room prices has found that visitors to London will pay twice as much to stay as last year. Hotels.com says the London 2012 Olympics is a major factor. Our personal finance and consumer news coverage with Sky TV's digital switchover. Better TV choice with all your Freeview favourites plus Sky's top entertainment channels. There's more at sky.com/digital switchover. And it was a good day for the stock market, with the FTSE closing more than 1% higher to 5,956. I'm Johnny Hart.
The Jazz FM Money Minute with Mishcon Derea. It's business, but it's personal. Jazz Travels with Robbie Vincent.
Jazz FM's listening colour.
You got a brand new love, now I can see it in your eyes. And as you think of her, rise expectations to the sky. Ocean deep, your love for me. Well,
Robbie Vincent, Jazz Travels, Jazz and Travel, Grupo X, featuring Lisa Miller, called Brand New Love, and featuring our guest John Crawford. More from him in just a sec. Later we'll be talking to Steve Cox, and Steve will be helping us meet the real war horses as we go to Belgium and France. But back to our guest John Crawford. John, I guess it must be quite nice to be able to do a Grupo X and then to do a different project.
Yes, it's very nice. I've loved all kinds of music that has a strong rhythmical emphasis, I suppose. And if these two albums have anything in common, I suppose it's the strong rhythms, I think, that are prevalent on both of them, I think.
Reading about you, I think that childhood influences are best shown by some form of art. Whenever you talk to somebody who's a painter or a writer, and particularly musicians, one of the things most of them say is, well, my mum and dad used to play music all the time. Now, for you, there was absolutely no escape from Latin rhythms, was there?
No, because my mother, being Spanish, was playing South American music all the time at home. And, of course, a lot of her friends here in London, and then when we moved to Leeds, were South Americans as well. So from very young, I was exposed to South American culture, and I think I quickly became intoxicated by it, and it's never left me, really.
Okay, well, come on, excite me about South America. I mean, Spain's a bit easy for you, but excite me about South America. Why should I be as excited as you are?
Well, South America for me is an amazing place. It's musically, it's an absolute gold mine. I mean, there is so much amazing and beautiful and inspiring music from all of the countries in South America. I mean, not just Brazil. There's some amazing musicians I've heard from Argentina, Chile, Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, Venezuela, Uruguay, of course, as there are quite a few Uruguayans on my album. So, yes, it's an amazing place, culturally very rich.
Have you travelled to all these countries? And
musically, yes, but I've only been physically to Argentina when I spent 3 weeks in Buenos Aires, which was a wonderful experience, I have to say.
But because you're very lucky, aren't you, living in a big city, because in big cities the world comes to you, really.
Yes, I mean, here in London, if you're a Spanish speaker, you can probably speak Spanish every day, because you will bump into Spanish speakers the whole time.
What about all these great Latin artists you played with? Diodata, Arto Moriano is the one I can never pronounce.
Aeto Moreira.
Yes. It's good to have
I'm not sure I'm saying it right either, actually. I mean, we'd need to get a Brazilian here to pronounce his name correctly, I think.
And when you play with people like this, because, I mean, real top draw players, and you went through all those countries where you say they're fabulous players, I mean, you presumably learn from them, do you?
Yes, I mean, the experience of playing with Erto was quite amazing, and I was really happy that they chose some of my favourite tunes from the past, like Toque de Cuica, Mixing, the one in 7/4. So, I felt I learned a lot from that experience.
Your album, Ula River of Time, some of it is actually, I mean, it sounds very Spanish, but a lot of it is based on Brazilian folk music.
And South American folk music as well. I mean, the track Mi Chiquita is based on a kind of a Chilean-Argentinian rhythm called chacarera. It's a lovely rhythm that's in 3/4, and I've always wanted to record a chacarera, but do kind of my own arrangement of one. So
it's a lovely track, and you dedicate it to somebody. Tell me about it.
Yes, I dedicated this track to the memory of a lady I met many years ago when I was 8 years old, called Estela Carrasco, who was from Chile. And when my family moved to Leeds when I was 8, immediately my mother became very good friends with Estela and her husband, Oscar. And we would go around their house in Leeds almost every week. And Estela and Oscar were a couple who sang a lot together. Oscar played the guitar and Estela sang. So suddenly I suddenly learning all these songs from Chile and Argentina. And it's not only, I suppose, the musical influence Estela had on me, but as a person, I was deeply impressed and affected by her, the dignity she had, the way she helped my mother through hard times, made me feel that I just felt indebted to her. And I wanted to, and this was a decision I made, I think a long time ago. I thought, when I do this album, I'm going to dedicate a song to her memory, because she really was a special person, I thought.
I think it's a very special track. Let's hear it. Mi Chiquita for Estela Carrasco. My guest is John Crawford. His new album's called Ula, River of Time, a mountain in San Sebastian, my geography tells me.
That's right. My mother is from San Sebastian, and we used to have a flat in an area called Gros, and right next to Gros was this mountain called Ulia. And San Sebastian is surrounded by mountains, but Ulia was my favourite mountain. It was the mountain I would walk up when I wanted to think about things, and so I thought it's a very personal title, I thought. And of course, Ulia has a river, a small river in it, and I decided to call it River of Time.
So if people actually were to visit that area, then they'd have quite a hard time finding the river, would they?
Yes, it's not easily found, no.
Almost your own little secret.
Yes. Yes, and it has a tiny little Roman viaduct over it. But again, it's a tiny little viaduct. It's not like the one in Brighton or, So, yeah, and it's a beautiful... San Sebastian itself is a beautiful city.
John, from beautiful cities to a combination of a Cuban band and Pat Metheny, where did that idea come from?
The first idea I had was the Irakere track, which I heard many years ago when they played at Ronnie Scott's. And I remember, in the mid-90s, Irakere would play at Ronnie Scott's sometimes for 2 weeks at a time. They'd pack it out every single night. And one tune they played was this one on my CD. And the Metheny tune was one, again, I wanted to play for a long time. And I wanted to do it perhaps kind of with a strong kind of Latin 6/8 feel to it. Hopefully a contrast to Pat Metheny's own version himself.
Because that was on Secret Story, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. It's called Finding and Believing. And I don't use the whole of that track. I use just like the last part of it, you see.
What do you think Metheny will think of that use? Almost everybody I've spoken to is actually very flattered when somebody uses their music, not just as the whole track, but a sample as such. Most of them seem to be very, very flattered. Is that your guess with Pat Metheny?
I hope very much. If he hears it, he'll be flattered and like it. I hope. I hope he'll also like the guitar solo, which I really like on the Irakere Metheny. I thought Guige played a really kind of very musical, inspiring solo there on the guitar. So hopefully Pat Metheny will like that as well.
Robbie Vincent with Jazz Travels. Our guest is John Crawford. We're going to hear that combination of Cuban musicians and Pat Metheny after the break.
Jazz FM.
With the latest traffic and travel news when you need it, 7 days a week.
I'm Simon Temby with the latest Jazz FM traffic and travel. The A203 South Lambeth Place in Vauxhall in London is queuing because of an incident as you head out towards Albert Embankment. So very slow towards Vauxhall Cross with the queues back to 9 Elms Lane and Kringle Street. The road blocked for around half an hour at the railway bridge at the northern side of the one-way system. The northbound side of the M1 in Bedfordshire, lanes closed on the exit slip for Bedford at junction 13 because of the broken down vehicle. The eastbound M4 through Newport has a lane closed. It's down to an accident. 4 vehicles involved in that from junction 25 to 24 at the A48. And Ocean Road through South Shields, the A183 is closed because of a building that collapsed on Friday at Anderson Street roundabout. 0500 59 27 27.
Jazz FM. Listening colour.
Let's say you bump into the neighbours.
Oh no, not the Joneses. What now?
Well, they start to talk about home insurance.
It makes a change from talking about themselves.
Yeah, and they tell you they came to Direct Line and got 3 months' worth of free home insurance.
And we only went on price comparison sites and missed out.
Yes, exactly.
And let me guess, they told you to rub it in.
Well, it was just an example. I've never actually met the Joneses.
So how do you know their name?
Well, because
I thought we were friends.
We're not on comparison sites, so don't miss out on our offers. Come direct to Direct Line. Applied as an introductory discount subject to minimum premium. Offer ends 31st of May 2012.
Jazz FM.
Jazz FM Live presents. Hey, this is Marcus Miller, and I'm really looking forward to performing in London and Manchester.
Join the legendary Marcus Miller live on May the 4th at London's Royal Festival Hall and on the 6th of May at the HMV Ritz in Manchester with Sirius and Band on the Wall. Tickets are available for purchase now at jazzfm.com.
Now you can listen in colour live and experience Marcus Miller for yourself. For details of these shows and others, and for your tickets, go to jazzfm.com/live.
Oh, bollards! When I have a serious prang, I immediately think two things. First, who put that there? And second, I must call Auto Restore. When it comes to car damage, Auto Restore are the experts. Give them a call on 0800 331 0331 and they'll assess the damage and give you a free no-strings quote. Then, when it suits you, they'll bring their clever mobile repair rig to your home or workplace and do a same-day repair. Which, if you can't get by without your car, is pretty convenient. And you know what? They tell you the cost before they start the job, so there are no nasty surprises. And they're backed by the people behind Autoglass, so you know you can trust them. You'd be amazed at what they can repair. For a free no-strings damage assessment and quote, call Auto Restore on 0800 331 0331 or go to autorestore.co.uk.
Auto Restore, repairs at your door.
This coming Wednesday... Ring any bells? Yep, it's the end of TalkTalk's half-price offer on home phone and broadband. So don't hang about. Switch to TalkTalk now at talktalk.co.uk and get the Essentials home phone and broadband package for only £3.25 a month for your entire 12-month contract. Then it's just £6.50 after that. TalkTalk, a brighter home for everyone. Hurry, offer ends this Wednesday. Line rental £13.80, conditions apply.
Jazz FM's Listening Colour.
Irakiri and Flute Notes and Finding and Believing, Pat Metheny, from our guest John Crawford and his Ula River of Time. And thanks to John. Robbie Vincent with Jazz Travels. We've had Birdsong on TV, which featured very much a love story and the First World War. We've had Downton Abbey, that touched on the First World War too, or the Great War. Journey's End was a huge success and went on to Broadway and won awards. And Warhorse, we've had the film, and of course we had a fine theatre production of it too. And it means that people like Steve Cox has been extra busy. He's company guided battlefield tours, take people back to some of the scenes of those great battles. And is it, Steve, partly because there's been such an increase in the interest in researching our families that more and more people want to travel to the battlefields?
I think that's undoubtedly true. On any tour that we take out, we usually take somewhere between, typically 25, 30 people on a tour. And I would have thought probably at least a third, normally, of the people on the tour are people who are going out there to visit graves, maybe of great-grandfathers, look where their grandfathers served. We're actually still taking people out to the battlefields who are looking at where their parents, where their fathers actually served. So that is no doubt a major factor. And quite often people who ring us want assistance in tracing family members and where they served and so forth. And it's arisen out of an interesting family history. But having said that, I think it is difficult to overestimate, actually, the just incredible interest there still is in Britain in the First World War.
One of the things I've noticed over the years in talking to musicians is that when they go to big cities, they all have their own way of a relaxation from music. Jim Mullen likes to go and watch movies. We have Bob James plays golf. Dexter Wansel from Philadelphia International goes bird watching. And a very common theme is going to the theatre. Now, the Warhorse was a very powerful production. So was Journey's End. Both went to America. And there's definite evidence that in America there's a reawakening of interest, if not an awakening of interest in the Great War, and the part that America had to play in it, which is oft forgotten, isn't it?
Absolutely. That we get very few American clients, actually, whereas in somewhere like Australia, for example, is a colossal interest. But many Americans really are quite unaware, actually, of the role that America played in the First World War. But I think you're correct in saying that is definitely growing. I mean, the number of inquiries we're receiving from America is definitely growing.
For the people that you take on the guided tours, what can we still see?
Well, when we take people, without a doubt, the first thing that absolutely staggers people is just the sheer number of cemeteries there are. That people expect, of course, to go to battlefields and see cemeteries, but there are hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of cemeteries in northern France and Belgium, British cemeteries. I mean, the British had quite a distinct attitude towards cemeteries. They tend to be small, they tend to be quite intimate affairs, they often based on the idea of a British country garden or a churchyard, and people just cannot get over the fact that you're driving past cemetery after cemetery after cemetery, and that really does grip people. It really it really moves them. What else can you see? That in many places the battlefield has actually literally been preserved, and again it's enormously powerful. I mean, for example, we take clients in front of a village called Beaumont-Hamel, and you can actually, they preserve the battlefield at a place called Newfoundland Park. You can actually stand literally on the British frontline trench. I can tell people at the South Wales borderers actually came out of this trench at 7:30, on the 1st of July 1916 and attacked the German trenches, which are there. You can see no man's land, the shell holes. You can see the cemetery where many of these men were buried after the fighting. I mean, that it's a very, very powerful experience. There are growingly now a number of archaeological sites. Again, another site we take people to is where the Ulster Division, the troops from Northern Ireland, attacked on the 1st of July. And archaeologists have literally excavated their trenches. They found the remains of their packs in the trenches, their shaving brushes, their spoons. It's quite incredible. And to stand and look at those trenches and think on the 1st of July, those were packed with men waiting to go into the attack against the German lines.
So for the people you take, I mean, it's a genuinely moving experience.
Absolutely, yes.
Robbie Vincent with Jazz Travels. Emanative, the album is called Space and features Jessica Lauren, and Jessica will be a guest on Jazz Travels in a few weeks' time. My guest is Steve Cox. Steve takes people on battlefield tours, World War scenes of some of the famous battles, and I wonder, Steve, if you're not now getting a lot more questions about the real war horse when you go on your battlefield tours.
I think the whole role of horses in the First World War in many ways has been misunderstood, I think. One problem with organising tours is the sort of Blackadder version of the First World War, that all the generals were bumbling fools and all the men were poor cannon fodder being thrown into the slaughter, has taken such a hold. It's very difficult, actually, to dispel some of these myths. So people's general idea of horses in the war is of senseless cavalrymen charging against German machine guns. And in fact, that very, very rarely happened. Cavalry were often used very successfully, actually, to, for example, capture German positions and villages, for example, which were maybe momentarily undefended because nobody else could get there, within the time to actually capture those villages before the Germans organised themselves. And there were instances of that, but that the cavalry were a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the British Army, and overwhelmingly horses were used for transport, and the armies did massively depend on horses for transport. And in fact, one of the major factors in the German defeat of 1918 was basically the Germans were short of horses. It really was a handicap.
When you're visiting these areas outside of war remains, and I read, another trench just been discovered. The tunnel, part of it had been preserved because of the way everything collapsed around it, and it's a bit of a museum of a German trench. But apart from that, I mean, what do you see from a personal, travel point of view? What sort of things do you actually like as an aside to these?
In addition to the battlefields?
Yes.
Well, one of the most popular tourist sites is Ypres, or Ypres, as the Belgians call it nowadays in Flemish. And Ypres was completely flattened after the First World War, but has been faithfully rebuilt as a Flemish cloth town. And it really is the most gorgeous, I say medieval, historic town, because obviously it's been completely rebuilt, but it really is essentially a wonderful historic Flemish town, and it really is very, very pretty, with the wonderful cloth hall, a magnificent cathedral, the old historic ramparts. It's a lovely place to stay, actually. It really is.
Do people, when you take them on the tours, in a way expect just to see sort of flat, battle-scarred areas, and are then quite surprised when they see something as beautiful?
Oh, I think they are, absolutely. With certainly with places like Ypres. To be quite honest with you, I think a lot of people are not quite sure what they expect when they go. And it staggers people, actually, how the landscape has recovered. I know it's nearly 100 years ago, but it's quite difficult to believe at times when you stand looking at fields and pastoral scenes and pretty villages and woodland, that was the battlefield. But yes, people are very, very pleasantly surprised. I mean, another town we stay in is Arras, which again is an old historic French town with lovely historic squares. And the countryside as well, actually. We're introducing, in 2013, we're introducing a walking tour on the Somme. Because essentially the Somme is very pretty countryside. It's lovely rolling countryside. There are lots of very, very pretty little villages, lots of woodland. So they are very pleasant areas to visit. There's no doubt about that.
Our thanks to Steve Cox. And if you go to jazzfm.com and you go to the Jazz Travels page, details of Steve's tours are there if you have been moved to pay a visit and perhaps see where one of your family members fought during the First World War. We'll be back in just a moment. More music, and it's a forthcoming guest, Richard Elliott.
Jazz FM.
With the latest traffic and travel news when you need it, 7 days a week.
I'm Simon Temby with the latest Jazz FM traffic and travel. The A203 South Lambeth Place in Vauxhall in London is queuing because of an incident as you head out towards Albert Embankment. So very slow towards Vauxhall Cross, with the queues back to 9 Elms Lane and Kringle Street. The road blocked for around half an hour at the railway bridge at the northern side of the one-way system. The northbound side of the M1 in Bedfordshire, lanes closed on the exit slip for Bedford at junction 13 because of a broken down vehicle. The eastbound M4 through Newport has a lane closed. It's down to an accident. 4 vehicles involved in that from junction 25 to 24 at the A48. And Ocean Road through South Shields, the A183 is closed because of a building that collapsed on Friday at Anderson Street roundabout. 0500 59 27 27.
Jazz FM. Listening colour.
A lot of people buy their insurance through comparison sites, but without coming to Direct Line, you might miss out on 2 months' worth of free car insurance.
Why hadn't I heard of this before?
Well...
I see. Firstly, I'm flattered.
Why?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? You're not on comparison sites, so only the best people get your deals. You're here recruiting, you see me, talented, handsome...
well, now I can assure you anyone can come to us direct and enjoy our deals.
Shh, other people might hear. Below average people.
We're not on comparison sites, so don't miss out on our offers. Come direct to Direct Line. Applied as an introductory discount subject to minimum premium. Offer ends 31st of May.
Jazz FM.
Welcome to the weekend with Michael Wilson, in partnership with the FT Weekend and FT Weekend magazine.
Join me every week at 5:30 for a preview of the weekend events, music, sport, and of course the artists making the musical headlines.
Welcome to the weekend with the FT Weekend and FT Weekend magazine. Smart but casual. This and every Friday from 5:30 p.m. only on Jazz FM.
Summer has come early with Clementine Sun, the delightful new album from Kari Cabral Simmons. An album full of uplifting, feel-good songs. With special guests Sabrina Malieros, India Ari, and Incognito. Clementine Sun. Out now at amazon.co.uk.
You've tried getting your family to London by train with a super-duper off-peak unhappy family return or whatever it was called. You enjoyed the crush. You enjoyed the replacement bus service. You lapped up the other passengers' music selections. Then you did it all again on the way back. Next time, try easier. Avis can deliver a rental car to your door and collect it when you're back. Call 08000 443 444 or search Try Easier. Avis. We try harder.
Hey, gorgeous. Fancy buying me a drink? You look just like my third husband.
Next.
So I've given up deodorant to see...
Next.
Of course it's real fox fur.
Next.
There's a better way to meet single professionals who speak your language. At lovestruck.com, we're selective about our members and precise with our matches, making it easier for you to find someone you'll click with. Register for free at lovestruck.com or download the app. Lovestruck, where busy people click.
Oh, don't you mind, Mum. We go everywhere together.
Next.
At GoDaddy.com, you'll get great products and great prices for everything you need to be successful online. Get a domain name, then build a website. GoDaddy makes it easy. How about our exclusive 4G hosting and custom email? Our prices for online shopping carts and SSL certificates will work with almost any budget. Plus, get around-the-clock customer service with your account for domains, websites, and everything in between. GoDaddy.com, the world's #1 domain registrar.
This is Jazz FM.
Lower Road, that comes from Richard Elliott. Richard, a guest on Jazz Travels in a few weeks' time. And the track features Jeff Lorber, who you can see live with Jazz FM in the UK in May. Our guest next week is a huge John Coltrane fan, and here's a tribute to him from Clifford Jordan. Clifford Jordan's tribute to John Coltrane. Our guest next week is Cecilia Starlin, who takes us on a musical and a geographical trip around her home country of Sweden. And she really is a big Coltrane fan, and we'll be playing some cuts from her new album. Things get even better after the news. Helen Mayhew and Dinner Jazz.
At Autoglass, we have more mobile technicians on the road than anyone else. So when you need a chip repair, we come out to wherever and whenever suits you best to do the job, so you can get on with your day. And if you're fully comp, it's usually free.
For vehicle glass, demand Autoglass. Call 0800 234 234